Hello everyone, my name is Thor and welcome back to Anthropology. Hello everyone, thank you for joining me in today's video. If this is your first time, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. On this channel, I like to talk about all things happening within the fashion industry, handbags, mindful consumption, and general weekly vlogs as well. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please consider subscribing for more. Like this video, turn on the bell to be notified when I post, which is every Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you for joining me in today's video. I hope you enjoyed as well. So, I am back from my mini hiatus and I want to talk a little bit about something that I've been noticing more so on the financial side of things within the fashion industry. And this was raised by Javier Alexander. He's another YouTuber here. I will link his channel down below. But he posted a comment on one of my videos. Basically, it was talking about luxury price increases and how they're basically pricing people out of the market. And he mentioned this quote. I will put it up here as well, but I'm just going to read it on my computer. He said, "You also said everyone and their mother seems to own everything. So I think the brands are honestly probably struggling to keep their image up, especially with the huge increase of BNPL or buy now, pay later that we see everyone doing now. And therefore they are trying to price people who they deem unworthy out of the market." So the mention of buy now, pay later or BNPL services is nothing new. It's been around for a few years, like 2017, 2018 is really when it started to take off. But buy now, pay later services have started to make their way into the luxury industry, making things essentially more accessible. So in this video, it's going to be podcast style. Put me on in the background, grab a coffee, fold some laundry, do some cooking, whatever it may be, and let's get into it. So I will be breaking this video down into a few different parts. Chapters will be in the description bar, so feel free to move around as you see fit. But I want to talk a little bit about what BNPL or buy now, pay later services are, how they work a little bit. I'm not a financial expert, so all of my knowledge is coming from the internet, but I'll link the sources down below. Also, I want to talk about a little bit how buy now, pay later services and luxury interact with one another, what it means for accessibility, for exclusivity of the brand as well, and then some pros and cons to these services and maybe like why I want to use them, maybe why I don't. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please keep watching. Buy now, pay later services, or BNPL as they are sort of acronymically known, is a short-term financing sort of installment loan. So for those that are unfamiliar, when you go to purchase something, let's say, it will have the option for you to pay in installments. So it'll say as low as X amount per month for X amount of months. Normally it's between 3 to 5 months. They're very short loans, and you get pre-approved basically instantly. There are a few companies that do this, so Affirm, Afterpay, Klarna are just some of like the main ones, and you can get it for a variety of things. It started on mostly, I would say, not as expensive goods, so like basically things that would be where you'd be paying around like $20 here and there, and then it would add up to like $100 as a good. Now it's making its way into luxury. So they're becoming increasingly popular. Essentially, they've grown very, very quickly, especially throughout the pandemic. So starting in 2018, they've grown around 300% per year in terms of number of new users, which means a lot of people are using these services because it's very convenient for them. It is different from layaway. So Fashionphile is one of the examples that I'll be talking about, but Fashionphile offers two different options. There's a layaway, and then there's sort of afterpay or buy now, pay later. Layaway means that you pay until the balance is sort of over, and then they give you the item. Afterpay is different, where you basically purchase the item, you receive it, and then you continue to pay on it through a third party like Affirm, like Afterpay. The key takeaways of this: buy now, pay later arrangements are point of sale installment loans that allow customers to make purchases and pay for them at a future date. Consumers typically make upfront payments towards the purchase and then pay the remainder off in a predetermined number of installments, so every month, every sort of bi-weekly, whatever it may be. They often don't charge interest, but they can, and we'll get into this later in the cons section, but you can sometimes pay a lot more for the item. The APR or percentage rate for the interest is often lower than a credit card, but higher than a line of credit. And normally it doesn't affect your credit score if you fall behind on payments, but it can. You can make a variety of purchases at a variety of retailers for luxury purposes. What I found is you can buy it from Gucci, Balenciaga, Bulgari, Bottega Veneta, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Neiman Marcus, among a variety of others, as well as Fashionphile. So it's like a delayed sort of payment thing. It's a lot easier to spend $25 now and then $25 every month than it is to spend $100 right up front, especially with the whole inflation situation going on globally, with the cost of living rising. People still want to treat themselves a little bit. So by finding it in their budgets, to spend $25 per month over 4 months as compared to $100 right now, it makes people still able to purchase these goods, to receive these goods, to have the quality of life that they want, while also maintaining some form of budget. However, where it gets a little tricky is when people do this a lot. So say you buy like one thing here, one thing here, one thing here, one thing here, it all equals out to $25. You're like, ooh, look at me go. I have 4 items and I only paid $25 each for them. However, you're then paying all of that money month to month. And if you're not very good financially, which is where these sort of come in, they're like a credit loan. If you're not good financially, if you're younger and you're still learning about finances, it can add up very quickly, and soon you can be underwater and indebted to a lot of these companies. So I want to get into some of the pros of this, and then we'll get a little bit into some luxury goods and what I think there, but it's very convenient. I would say it can be a more disciplined way to spend money because you can note things down, you can space things out. It's a lot easier financially. There is frequently zero interest or low interest. I think a firm does around 15% interest if you're late, or if you make your term longer. And then Afterpay, I think, is zero interest, but you pay late fees. If you had a good or high credit score, you don't really need that to qualify. A lot of these financing options, I would say, are more targeted to lower credit scored individuals that can maybe not, that will have a higher interest rate through other means, so like a credit card, a line of credit, whatever. So if you have lower credit, this doesn't impact your ability to use buy now, pay later services, and it's a very fast approval. All of these things sum up that is, you want to purchase luxury goods and you don't have that much room in your budget. It is a more accessible way for you to get into some of these houses, some of these items. You can space out a larger purchase over multiple different payments. Some banks do offer this, like my bank CIBC, they do offer this through my credit card. However, I have to pay interest on that. These being third-party financiers, you sometimes don't, you sometimes do. Cons, unless you're very disciplined financially, it can be very hard to track how many purchases you have and then how many purchases will be coming out of your bank account each month for however long you've predetermined. I was reading this article, I think it was Bloomberg, where they're basically saying humans psychologically have a overestimation of the good things that will happen in their lives. So like they will keep their job, they will be able to keep all these payments going for months on end, and we have a lower ability to forecast the bad things that may happen. Like we will lose a job, we will not be able to pay these things. So thus we find ourselves in these situations as a species where we oftentimes overindulge or we're basically overcompensating for the fact that we cannot always guarantee that we will be able to pay these goods. And this is very dangerous now as we head into a recession, potentially, air quote, as the job market is a bit questionable right now as well. So you don't want to rope yourself into a situation where you're paying a lot over extended months as opposed to paying everything out right now. So I want to get into a little bit with I'll just continue some cons here. So missing and late payments result in late fees and damage to your credit score potentially, just like any sort of regular loan. There are no rewards or cashbacks presently if you do a purchase, and payments may continue even if the item is returned, because if you return the item, you're still paying a firm. You're not paying the vendor, if that makes sense. So there has been quite a bit of concern around Gen Z and younger generations getting looped into this. They seem to be one of the target markets. I remember watching by Trixie Mattel and Katya, the drag queens on WoW Presents, where they are often main proponents and sponsors of Klarna. And the audience of Drag Race lately seems to be getting younger and younger, and thus Klarna is trying to reach that audience where people will be able to access a variety of goods for lower cost. And I think I've noticed as well with the increase of luxury goods within social media that everybody, as I mentioned before, everybody and anybody wants to own these goods now, and the more accessible that they make these goods, the easier it will be, but also the harder it will be on individuals or to stay away from this and to maintain sort of a luxury minimalist mindset if that's what they want. So I saw this Chopard ring, which I loved, and I thought it was really interesting. So I'll use this as a case study. This was listed on Fashionphile for $17.50 USD, and starting at $159 per month with a firm, I could get this ring. Now, $159 per month sounds way better than $17.50. That's only if I pay it over 12 months, and I would end up paying 15% interest or $147 on top of it, making the total almost $1,900 USD. After basically all of the taxes, duties, whatever, this would be well over $2,000. So you would be basically paying $150 more if you pay $159 per month and you pay it over a year. If you pay it over 3 months, which is the only option that has no interest, instead of paying $17.50, you end up paying $583. So if you are doing this and you have a lower interest option, I think it would still be good. However, I remember back in the day, maybe not even that long ago, there was a rhetoric or discourse on YouTube around finances and luxury, and the going idea was that if you cannot afford to buy something double, so if you can buy it once and then you have enough money in the bank to buy it twice, then you can basically afford it. This sort of throws that out the window, where it's like you don't need that much money anymore to be able to afford all of these goods, and you can just keep adding them up. But if you buy multiple things, before you know it, you'll have thousands of dollars coming out of your account each month, and it can be very hard to track and very hard to stop. So you have to be very vigilant and understanding that the price you see sometimes marketed like $159, that sounds great, but when you start looking into everything, it's honestly not that great. So the other thing is that depending on your credit score, the interest rates can be very different. So the rates are between 0 and 30%. They have it here that the average APR for a firm for this one, if I pre-qualify for it, is around 15%. Up to 30% means that I could be paying around $300 more for this item just by using this service. However, the luxury industry doesn't seem to care. They are so into it. Any way that they can get more consumers, new consumers, younger consumers to purchase their goods, they will find a way. Younger consumers historically do not have the same level of income that is disposable compared to older counterparts. So any way that they can find a way to get these consumers started, get them in the door, get them hooked on luxury goods, they will find it, and they are definitely leveraging this. These companies are making so much money. I was reading this article basically that Klarna and Afterpay are estimated to bring in between $4 and $6 billion per year just in services that they charge or fees that they charge to the merchant, which Farfetch, Fashionphile, whatever, and then also late fees and interest. So they are like a bank, but there is less regulation, less credit checks, and you can rope yourself in at a younger age. So I don't know what it's like in other countries, but in Canada, you have to be 18 to get a credit card. I don't think you need to be 18 to use these services, because I'm seeing so many kids, or basically the younger generation, is really getting looped into it. So what do you all think? Do you think that buy now, pay later services are good for the luxury industry? Have you used them before? What is your experience with them? I have never used them before. I've just sort of looked at them from an outside perspective. I use credit cards for basically everything, but I always make sure to pay them off. No running balance, have a good credit score. But I definitely think it's interesting that buy now, pay later has really sort of cemented itself into the luxury industry, which was viewed previously and still tries to be very exclusive and tries to exclude a lot of people from purchasing goods. You know, we've seen this with Chanel, we've seen this with Hermes, but now a lot of companies are sort of embracing the buy now, pay later service to get newer customers, to get the younger generation that doesn't have as much disposable income. So what do you all think? Let me know. I know this is not like a documentation or a documentary of buy now, pay later services in the luxury industry. It's just my thoughts on it. So what do you think? Let me know. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like this video, comment anything down below, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye guys.